keeping it true. Twitch.tv/Bay Life Radio and Digital Dash. Turn it up, feel the love, it's a Bay blast from the president past, from the president past.
For your ear, coming through Bay Life Radio, bringing the heat right to you. Tune in to the Bay's best connection to you. And good music is live, we're keeping it true. Twitch.tv/Bay Life Radio and Digital Dash. Turn it up, feel the love, it's a Bay blast from the president past, from the president past.
Watching Bay Life TV. Watching Bay Life TV. What it do? Alright. Oakland, that sound like something you could just bump that. Bump that. Turn past 7 because it will make your trunk shake. If it shake the windows when you turn it up, you get bumped. Got you dancing, make you wanna wake it up. You get bumped. Make you swing it with the doors open up. You get bumped. Grab a bottle, crack it open, turn it up. You get bumped. If it shake the windows when you turn it up, you get bumped. Got you dancing, make you wanna wake it up. You get bumped. Make you swing it with the doors open up. You get bumped. Grab a bottle, crack it open, turn it up. You get bumped that.
Hey, it's Nick V from the Baker Boys, live downtown here with LavaMay.org, and I'm standing right here with Colton. Hi, Colton. How are you?
Good, good.
From Long Beach, California. LavaMay.org started 6 years ago in San Francisco, but now has moved to Los Angeles and helping out some of the displaced brothers and sisters here in downtown Los Angeles. And in case you guys don't know, or you have not been looking around, there's an epidemic going on here in our city, and we need to wake up and be a part of the solution. So that's why we're here today. Colton, tell me a little bit more about the organization, sir.
Yeah, so LavaMay, we provide mobile showers and other critical services to the street. We deliver it with something we call radical hospitality, where we go to people and we treat them as if they were our guests. That they were at a 5-star hotel and we were handing them a fresh, clean towel and a nice, safe, clean place to shower. That's what we do, and we came here to Los Angeles because, you know, it's probably the ground zero of the homelessness crisis here in the United States.
Are you ready to honor the legacy of my brother and hip-hop legend Shock G and make a difference in the community? Show your support for the East Oakland Collective, EOC. Are you ready to honor the legacy of my brother and hip-hop legend Shock G and make a difference in the community? Show your support for the East Oakland Collective, EOC, by purchasing the new Shock G Humpty t-shirt designed by Shamari Smith. It's available at beatsforhope.com. My brother Shock G was a multi-platinum hip-hop pioneer and producer who was deeply committed to helping the community, culture, and music of his time. His vision for helping humanity was honorable and has inspired people to come together and see to those that need important attention and love. By purchasing the new Shock G Humpty t-shirt, you are supporting the EOC, which helps provide essential services in East Oakland. Together, we can make a difference as we honor Shock G's legacy and support our friends at the EOC. Get your Shock G Humpty t-shirt today.
www.m4mmunited.org, or you can call us at 877-900-0832.
What's up? What's up? Hello, Bay Life Radio world. Here's another episode of Word on the Curb. I'm Nita B. And Quick is back with us.
What's up? What's up?
We missed you, brother.
I miss y'all as well. I miss y'all as well. Thank you for holding it down and holding us up.
All
You
right,
know
all
what I
right.
mean?
Hey, man, that's why we here, right?
Indeed.
So we have a special guest with us today, Derek Sue. We showed a video of him last week when we were talking about kind of homeless hacks and some of the different ways that homeless folks survived. And he had a video about the water, how to get water through a legislative effort that he was able to succeed through East Bay Mud to get rules removed that would no longer made it illegal to share water with people, and set up a whole program, which we'll get into a little bit. But before we jump in, want to say welcome, and we're supposed to have a positive affirmation. Do you got anything on top of your mind you want to share with folks as a positive affirmation for the day?
Well, I always say words sound power.
Hey,
You know,
manifest.
well, the things that we think and say actually have a vibration. So, you know, just focusing on our vibration more detailed, in a detailed manner, is the word of the day.
Hey.
Because we throw words around a lot, we talk a lot, we want to vent, we want to express, which is all good. However, we also should, there's that word should, some people don't like to
Shoulda,
hear.
coulda, woulda.
You know,
I don't use that.
there's this shoulda, coulda, woulda, but there are some should not do, and there's
That
some
part.
should do.
Right, I feel that.
Like, we think before we speak. We all have an issue with that. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes we just say what we feel.
Yes, especially
So-
when we're passionate about something.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just like,
Here it is.
yeah.
And sometimes maybe not passionate, but just expressive. We just like to share what's happening inside us. And to me, that's healthy. Keeping it moving, right? But now it's, what are the things that's going to put me on a higher level? What are things going to put that person I'm talking to on a higher level, or whoever's listening around
Yes.
us? So that's the word of the day.
Words sound power, y'all.
Boom.
All right. And with that whole,
Since Igor ain't on it. I'm playing. There we
Right.
go. There we go.
Okay. And with that word sound power and higher vibrations and maintaining vibrations, just want to shout out to the beauty of the Black Joy Parade. I hope folks made it out there. Yes. just I was telling Igor earlier that I love that parade particularly because the energy of that goodness, of that joy, like continues for several days. Like the space, the area, but then the people, the folks who went there, and there were thousands of people again. So that's just radiating throughout the Bay Area because there were people all over the Bay
And
from there.
the glow, because
That,
you know how
that.
the world looks at Oakland and sees what's happening, and also how to shift and
Yes.
all of that goodness. So
Yes.
I'm glad it's on a higher level, because
Yes.
people been trying to downplay Oakland
Yes.
like it ain't been the heart of love and unity
Yes.
and creativity.
Yes.
Come on.
And the heart of creativity and love and unity through all the hardships. Oakland was never
Through it all.
perfect. We always had issues. We've always had issues.
on.
And they continue to be ignored
That's right.
and further criminalized now. Right? And so it's like as that repression, as that criminalization, as that disparity continues, boom, the love and the joy rises
That's
up.
even higher.
Okay. It was beautiful. Yes. And speaking of parades, Aikwe Quick has this wonderful concept of a homeless parade
Yeah.
that we want to get behind
Well, it's not
and
a
do.
homeless parade. It's a parade in respect to unhoused.
Okay.
And not just unhoused, just the whole idea of homelessness, right? The homelessness, or like the separative thinking is what I'm getting at. Because within this, I call it an awareness parade.
Okay.
Because we said, is it going to be celebratory or,
Yes.
you know, protest, or what
Yes.
what should be our approach?
Yeah.
And I think it's about bringing more awareness, because what we're hearing down on the ground level, actually it gets lower than that, but in the encampments or campsites, they're throwing a bunch of trash on them.
Yes.
And they have to deal with more.
Yes.
And so this is now a so-called middle class issue as well, where so-called normal people aren't so normal when they're kicking somebody when they're down,
Yes.
making it harder for them
Yes.
to even get along day to day.
Yes, and being disconnected from their humanity, where they can see a homeless person and associate a homeless human with trash. Like that's a huge kind of issue.
It is a big
It's a human
issue.
that needs to like connect. Hello.
And not just trash with, and we do have some of our family members, community members that have mental challenges, which in result become homeless or houseless. Because see, I'm really getting away from the homelessness. I said it a couple sessions ago, but I really want to get away because that's a part of it. Oh, there's somebody homeless. Well, they just may not have the suitable shelter
Yep.
for the confines or for the structures we have today. Understandable.
Yep.
But we want to, like you said, go into how are people thinking about humanity as a whole? Where is the love, first of all, and the
Man.
compassion? Because really, it's not just houseless, it's our mental
All of us.
challenged ones that are out there too. Because remember
Yeah.
when whoever was in office and they let a bunch
Reagan.
of
That was
Reagan,
Reagan.
right?
Yep.
We still dealing with that,
Still to
which
this day.
that's a part of this issue.
Yep. Of that mentality to like look down
To look
or
down.
to stigmatize
Right.
because there's such a stigma.
And then criminalize.
Yes,
Yeah.
you know, especially these days. Like
Right.
so many things are like unhoused folks are being like super duper uber criminalized right now.
Super duper uber.
You know,
All of those.
for real. And I got into an argument online. I've been away. I haven't really been engaging on like social media to argue with people or to like debate or even
Right,
reason,
right,
whatever
right.
word you want to use, because it just gets exhausting. But
can
there was a bunch
imagine.
of lies that people were putting out there about the unhoused, and I had mentioned, and I've mentioned this on many of the shows that we've had, that first they came for the homeless was actually what happened in Nazi Germany. They came for the homeless, and people were arguing and, you know, telling me I was a liar, I didn't know my stuff. So I'm like, no, like I can actually give you the date. 1933 is when they actually created a whole like list of, and they called their unhoused tramps, vagabonds. These are the translation from German to English. Tramps, vagabonds, unsavory, you know, beggars, and that also included other categories of people. And then after that, they went after the disabled. And after the disabled, they went after the Romas, who we know as gypsies, which was a derogatory term to the Romas.
I see.
Then the Muslims, you know, on and on and on. The last group they went after was the Jews. But we're in an era of fascism that we cannot ignore the parallels, right?
Right.
Everything that happened in Nazi Germany is happening now in current U.S. And I know, like, this stuff is, like, boring or, like, it's not going to affect us. It is. And
Boring.
you know, people don't want to talk about this. Like,
I think, though, I really want to touch on that because I think it's more about fear. So they act like, oh, it's not right, really interesting. Nah, you just ain't got the courage to stand up and know what's going on and do something about it. That's
Yeah.
what I think.
or being overwhelmed because
Then there's overwhelmed.
that,
There's a
right?
bunch of different tiers.
Yeah, of why people
Tears.
don't want to. Why people don't want to talk about this shit. Excuse me.
Understood.
Yep. With that being said, there are two things I wanted to share today that I had found out that Trump had done yesterday morning.
Okay.
So the first thing is Trump and his supporters are trying to change the Constitution so that he can stay in office for a third term or longer. Remember, it's only been 2 months and this guy's done so much. The name of that campaign is the Third Term Project.
Wow.
And it's been launched. This one is crazy. Like, so he also announced that in 2 weeks, they're going to start offering gold card citizenships to rich foreigners who can afford this gold card citizenship for $5 million. And this is where we see racism, capitalism, which is like the current economic system we live under, and classism, which is inequity between the poor and the rich, happen. Like, so you're telling me that if a person who got green to spend in this country, to create businesses to exploit workers, to take more land, are allowed to be in this country, but if you got brown or melanin in your skin, then and you're really just coming here to look for an opportunity to like help your family, to better your place in life, that you're not allowed here, right?
That's right.
So this does matter, y'all. And maybe people are like, oh, maybe we need the money here. No, just know that this is a setup. It's only been 2 months, and everything that people know as the United States, it's not really changing because it's always been like this. It's just that they're not playing. They're not hiding no more. Exactly. You know? Corporations and rich people, and look at Trump's wife. Is she going to get migrated? Look at Elon Musk. Is he going to be deported? You know what I'm saying? Like
he should have been.
You know what I'm saying?
He's not a citizen.
That's crazy.
And the president is a felon. You know what I'm saying? So now they're not playing anymore. They're not playing no more. They're just like being like, this is it. And it's always been this. It's always been this. So, and that's the message about why I think it's really important. We keep on bringing this issue, what's going on with the federal government every week, unexpectedly. You know, like, I don't think, myself, I was going to talk about what's happening in the federal government every time, but it's relevant, and we need to stay on top of this because there are going to be some serious repercussions. And what's happening on the federal level, what's happening across the country, I've said many, many times before, that they're bringing back Jim Crow. They're bringing back Jim Crow. And that's what I saw with my eyes when I traveled across the country documenting homelessness in 2023. And we've talked about this in the past couple shows about what happened in Fremont, how they made it a misdemeanor to be unhoused in Fremont,
I didn't hear that.
And to a misdemeanor to help unhoused people, and they're calling it aiding and abetting the unhoused.
What?
And both crimes, you know, crime exists when you make it a crime.
For sure.
Before then, it wasn't a crime, right? Both crimes are punishable by a $1,000 fine and 6 months in jail. Jim Crow. Go further back than Jim Crow. The Fugitive Slave Law here in the United States. I think 1808. I wrote it down. 1850. The Fugitive Slave Law made it a crime to be an African, a black person, someone who looked black, who liberated themselves from a plantation. That was a crime to do so. In that same bill, it was a crime to help anybody who was able to liberate themselves.
Right.
And it was called aiding and abetting.
Right.
And what was the punishment? The same exact punishment that Fremont's saying. $1,000 fine and 6 months in jail.
Wow.
125 years later, right?
There you go. Yeah.
So, or I'm doing the math wrong, but you get it. 1850 to
18,
2025. I'm terrible at math.
18, almost 200 years.
200 years. Okay. So, this stuff is relevant, and I know, like you said, it's overwhelming. People don't want to talk about it for many reasons. But we got to. This is why it's happening, because we don't talk about it. History repeats itself. It repeats itself when we don't address it.
Exactly.
So the U.S. is repeating itself. Nazism is repeating itself. It's coming to a full circle. We can change it and end it, or go through a whole nother cycle of this crap.
It never ended.
That part.
So what I'm looking at is how we keep going along with it like it's something different.
Right.
And,
Right.
you know, and we see groups like the Panthers and others that clearly been telling us. You see people in Africa, you know, Lumumba and other people that, you know, telling us straight up.
Mm-hmm.
We see how whoever it was that wanted to give us millions of dollars, it being rejected. You know,
Right.
so these type of moves are real clear that it's not what we think and what we've been thinking. So
Right.
we got to think about it differently, meaning like more militantly. I mean, that's why the Panthers came that way. 'Cause,
Yes.
you know, so
And they weren't militant. When you think about what they were doing, they were taking care of their community, including self-defense. There was nothing militant about that. Within colonialism, it's militant, but they were really being human beings.
well, the militancy and even in being human beings, like I say, we go back to the village. There was a military. We may not have done it the same way as today. However, they took up arms
Yes.
and organized and disciplined themselves to show up when necessary. We need that right now.
Yes, but I don't think that's militant. I think it's been called militant because it's such a huge diversion of what is expected of oppressed communities or marginalized communities, you know? But it really goes back to our humanity. Like, even with like organizing and supporting homeless encampments, unhoused, I call them curbside communities, right? Folks are at a point where there's nothing left to do but fight. And to tap into that spirit of fight, that expression, that's an expression of self-love. That's an expression of humanity.
Right.
So that's why I was saying, like, yes, they were militant because they was fierce. They were going against what they were not supposed to do. They were breaking bad laws. They were utilizing the laws that existed. But it was if we really look at, like, the nature of a person, of a being, what they were doing was not militant. That's what they're saying they were doing with the Panther, what a Black Panther would do. What does a Black Panther do? When they're pushed up against a corner, fight back. That's nature. It's natural. But that's my take on it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, got some thoughts with that, but
Yeah.
you know, we definitely do tap into our natural sense of being, and we're gonna strategize differently.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we definitely agree there.
Yes. Yeah.
And so, what's our next thing on our list?
Our next thing is we're gonna go into a short music break, and then we're gonna get in and have a conversation with Derek. But you know, Roberta Flack passed away yesterday, and I love her. She reminds me of my childhood. And when my mom passed away, I took all my mom's records, and she had a lot of Roberta Flack records, and that was a way for me to like connect to my mom. And so I kept on like collecting Roberta Flack records, and I was listening to her music all day yesterday, and just like going down memory lane, and just like really feeling good too, you know, and
Straight
feeling
up,
it.
Come on.
And so I wanted to share a song today called "Compared to What." It's a live version. This song was made in 1969. But this is a 1970 live version. And it's just so relevant of what she was talking about in 1969 applies to today. So, yeah, can we play that, DJ Igor?
You like him, I like him, everybody likes James Brown. By the way, on the serious side of things, though, we've got a gal coming up who is groovy. Everybody's groovy, but she's beautiful people. And I don't think she's known in Africa, but I think you'll really dig her. We did a television show together, and it came out something like this. Here's our first number, Roberta Flack. Compared to what?
Love, hanging on with push and shove. Possession is motivation, hanging up the whole damn nation. Looks like we always end up in a rut, trying to make it real. Compared to what? Said the slaughterhouse is killing hogs. Twisted children are killing frogs. For them rednecks are rolling logs. Title ladies are kissing dogs. And I hate that human love, that stinking mud. Trying to make it real. But compared to what? Church on Sunday, you sleep and nod, trying to duck the wrath of God. Said the preacher's filling us with fright, telling what he thinks is right, but he must be some kind of stupid nut. He's trying to make it real, 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 but compared to what? Where's the beef? Where's that honey? Where's my God? And where's my money? Unreal values, crass distortion. Unwed mothers need abortion, and it kind of breaks my mind. Oh, young King Tut, he tried to make it real, real, real. Compared to what? I said I loved a lie, not a lie to love. Hanging on with push and shove. Possession is the motivation, hanging up the whole damn nation, and it looks like we always end up in a rut, trying to make it real, trying to make it real, real, trying to make it real. Compared to what?
All right.
Compared to what? Compared to what?
Back right there.
Yes.
Back to the 70s.
I love it.
Soul Train.
Yeah. So yeah, Roberta Flack, compared to what? That whole album is awesome. It's called First Take. Check it out. You can find it on YouTube. Yes. All right, so we back, and our guest today is Derek Sue. How you doing, Derek?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for inviting me.
Yes. Thank you for coming through, taking time out of your busy schedule. Like I said, we watched a video that Derek had made last week about how unhoused folks, and really, if you really apply it to, you know, the conditions we're in right now with global warming and like wildfires and floods, just making people unhoused or creating situations where you can't get clean water. We showed the video of his solution, and he actually did bring some of the equipment that he uses to show us.
And anyway, I had back in the 80s, I worked for East Bay Mud, the water district, and I learned a lot in the 4 years. I hated the job completely, but also I learned about the dangers of just the drinking water here in Oakland,
wow.
because the pipes were so antiquated, most of them over a century old, and then the joints were sealed with lead yokum. And it's an old way of sealing pipe back then, and that's what presented the lead danger to our community for over 100 years. And so when I became homeless, I remember the regulation on the books, because sometimes it would be enforced that homeless folks would be brought to court, or a police officer would be asked to write a citation for that homeless person for drawing water. And I remember that in 2014 because that actually happened to me when I was first homeless. When I first became homeless on 77th Avenue, I started drawing from the fire hydrant, and it was a chore to begin with, because fire hydrants have about 350 psi of pressure, and so that's why having the right tools, the adapter, this particular adapter goes right onto the 1.5-inch connection for your fire hose, and then we have next to that a pressure regulator. That pressure regulator keeps this from blowing up, because if you try to feed 350 psi through this literally would look like a bomb. And so you have to have that regulator. And the regulator's cheap, it's only $10.
Nice.
And then there's a hose that comes out of here, and then just turn the hydrant on. You have a special tool. The East Bay Mud has a lot of damaged fire hydrants because folks use the wrong tools, and it's because they don't know where to get it. But this tool here, a fire hydrant wrench, it's a legal fire hydrant wrench that you can easily get on Amazon. It's only $20 to $21.
Nice.
And this works on every fire hydrant in America.
Nice.
So it doesn't matter where it is.
Nice.
All of these, the pentagon shapes, all match. And by using this, my friend who's a lawyer, Kyle, and we went to EB Mud, approached one of their compliance officers and asked them to remove that particular regulation that criminalized the taking of water. And even if a person, a resident or a business were to draw water and give it to a homeless person, they could also be cited $1,000 for each infraction.
Wow.
And so we had that removed.
Awesome.
It dated back to when EB Mud first was incorporated and became the municipal supplier for Alameda County. With that, so many damaged fire hydrants, and to repair a fire hydrant, it is an immense job. You wouldn't believe how much paperwork is involved just to fix that stem or to replace that fire hydrant. And by the time you finish with all the labor and the actual work to fix one fire hydrant is nearly $12,000.
Wow.
And so that's why water districts
So for
got so
$25.
crazy. So for $20, $21, you can do it right, and they're not going to bitch at you.
Right on. And then you're also making sure that if a fire happens in the vicinity,
you
there's
have the
water.
tools, and we also have the adapter so that with the pressure regulator on there, we can put it to a regular garden hose, and it gives us an unlimited supply of water to put out fires. And that's what one of the things that I was really big on, because we had so many accidental fires in my sanctuary encampment. We received our actual, the only camp in Oakland that received a sanctuary grant was mine.
We got a sanctuary grant too from the
Did you?
city, the
Okay,
village over
okay.
East 12th and 23rd. But before we get into all that and amazing work you've been able to do, I wanted to rewind a little bit and let the viewers know who you are. Maybe tell a little bit about you and your family, because y'all been in Oakland for a minute,
Yep.
and then your relationship with homelessness.
Okay, my family goes back to before Oakland even became Oakland. My family first stepped foot in the Bay Area at San Francisco in the 1850s, right at the height of the gold rush. We didn't do anything because of all the miners' taxes. They didn't want the Chinese in the country to begin with, so you know, just like Trump did in his previous administration, really ragged on the Chinese, and I'm afraid that's what's happening again to the Asian folks. And if you look at what he's doing, child birthright here in the country was
Right.
created and upheld because of the Chinese community. We were denied that for decades, and it wasn't until 1941 that it was approved and that we actually had birthright citizenship. 1941.
Right, right. That's crazy. And he's repealing that for
And he's
everybody.
trying to repeal that right now.
And what he's trying to repeal too is first generation is born here.
Yes.
So, like for example, my mother was born in the Philippines. My father was born in New York, but his parents were born in Puerto Rico, in Italy, and came here. So, if he actually removes this birthright for first generations born, I would no longer be a citizen, even though I was born here. My father would not be a citizen, even though he was born here. So it's yeah, he's only been here for 2 months.
Yeah, it's scary.
It's really wild. Yeah.
Because my grandfather was the first of my family to be born here in America. My great-grandfather was never able to get citizenship because he died before 1941. He died in 1934. So he never was granted.
He was never a citizen.
No, but he still is here in spirit. He's buried here at Mountain View Cemetery, and we actually, our family, my great-grandfather Lou Hing was one of the founding fathers of the Oakland Chinatown. We actually owned 4 square blocks of the Oakland Chinatown.
That's amazing.
8th and Webster, all 4 corners was owned by our family.
That's awesome.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And we still maintain the family association, and that's located on 9th Street just before Webster.
Nice.
So we still maintain a presence in the Oakland Chinatown. And we were a very strong voice, much like Carl Chan is today the voice of the Chinese community. My grandfather, Thomas Liu, was the voice back then during the 50s, 60s, and up until 1972. He passed in 1974. But he was the voice of the community, but it was a very different time, and the leadership of Oakland was very different and very racist. And so
not that much different now.
yeah, so a lot of things still have remained the same. Only difference is that back then the white cops had a hard time in Chinatown because nobody speak English. Everybody spoke Chinese and they didn't speak Chinese. So that's how we kept them out. Only time they came in was for lunch and parking tickets.
Yeah. And now in Chinatown, it's
Now it's crime infested.
well, but also the beat cops
Yeah,
are
the beat,
Asian.
Yeah, the beat cops are now
They speak-
all Asian,
they
and
speak-
they speak.
They speak various languages, Asian languages, which is different, but not different because, like you said, it is what it is. We are in the U.S. But if you could share your story with about your personal experience with homelessness and how you got into not just homelessness but this work of advocacy.
How I got turned into a homeless person was actually I used to be a multimillionaire here in Oakland. I was retired at the age of 47. I worked for 20 years for our government in the Department of Defense. I was in charge. I was a commander for counterterrorism here in the Bay Area, and it extended all the way over to the Pacific Rim in Asia. And so I was one of 8 commanders here on the West Coast. And then time was up. George W. Bush retired me because of medical reasons and my age at the time. For the work that I did, most people didn't live past 30. I was 47. So I was something that shouldn't have been there. I should have been dead because of the work, but I wasn't. And so when I came back into civilian life, I was only a few months into civilian life, and then we had the financial crash from all the financial institutions. All three of my financial institutions were major players in that collapse. Washington Mutual, the biggest bank failure in America. Smith Barney, the next biggest failure in America. And then Citibank. Citibank was the smallest of my losses. But a majority of my $3.25 million was taken by Washington Mutual and Smith Barney. And so overnight I lost $3.25 million, went from very comfortable life to a very stressful life, trying to figure out what I'm going to do. And I was out of the area. I was in an area that was very racist to begin with, North Carolina. And all my friends of color said, "Do you really want to go to North Carolina?" And everybody that I knew said, "I'll see you back here in a year." And they were right. In 11 months, I was back here because the racism was unbelievable.
Blatant. In your face.
It was in your face. It was on TV. I mean, the newscasters were racist, and it was a horrible experience back there. And I was so glad to get back to the Bay Area. And it was a shock to me to see racism that in your face. And I even had a white racist neighbor who threatened to kill me. She shot at the previous owner of the home, and she spent a year in prison for shooting at them.
Wow.
And she was threatening to do that to me.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. She got out after
but they didn't allow her to have firearms anymore. But after that, I was broke. I got back to the Bay Area, really struggled. But then also it opened my eyes to seeing how another side of society lives that I never experienced or never knew. Because I grew up in a middle-class family and elevated myself to the upper 1%. So I was living a 1% life. Because my income, my personal income, was just short of $400,000 a year.
Wow.
when I was employed.
Wow.
And then my wife was making another $250,000 a year.
Wow.
So we were cash rich. We didn't have bills. That's why I had 3 boats. We had a home. We had a vacation cabin in South Lake Tahoe. We had a lot of things. But then we got divorced, and with a divorce, things get divided up, and you go your own way. And after seeing the struggle of how people lived who were in poverty, because now I'm suddenly thrown into poverty, and it's not foreign to them, but it was extremely foreign to me. So I had to learn from people that I didn't normally interact with. And that was the time when I was homeless on 77th Avenue, and then people were starting to come in. The first person that I met, Jesus, he was living in his truck, literally, and his clothes. He had no money, nothing. And so him and I formed a relationship, good friends. I helped him off the street, and he actually got it back into a good place. He had a great income. He was just in a mess. And so I helped him legally get through that quagmire that he was in. And he was in an apartment. He's still in the same apartment. He still helps me out. He's actually my mailing address. And he takes my deliveries before I actually formed this new way of getting deliveries. But he was my delivery point, because when you're homeless, you don't have a delivery point. You can't get mail. You can't charge your phone, and so these are all issues that I had to overcome very quickly. And fortunately, I had a lot of good people, businesses that I formed good relationships with, and they helped me out. They gave me electricity, which helped me help my community by refrigerating food, recharging phones. They gave us access to water, so they gave us 100 gallons a day of water.
That's awesome.
Which was, that's 20 showers for,
awesome.
for people. Or, because everybody got a 5-gallon bucket. That was your water to do with whatever you needed for that day. And then you just bring me back the empty bucket and we'll get it filled.
Yeah.
And so that's how things went there. But it was a real eye-opening experience for me for the first time, to make things happen without money. So I had to learn how to barter. I had to learn how to negotiate. And I also had to learn how to become a public relations figure for my encampment. And that's how we were able to feed the encampment day in, day out. I was able to lobby for showers to come into the encampment. We also lobbied for the porta potties, wash stations. We also had medical coming into the encampment to embrace those that needed the medical attention. And the reason why we got the medical was because we had so many 911 calls because of diabetic shock, because people had no way of refrigerating their insulin. And that was why we had to have the refrigerator and the electricity to refrigerate. Once we had that $1,500 911 call stopped. And we had 6 a week. We're nearly $10,000 a week in just insulin calls.
Wow.
And just by giving us electricity, that ended that.
That's awesome.
And people weren't getting sick anymore because food was being refrigerated and properly cooked and handled. So it made a huge difference. And so I did lobby a lot with Mayor Libby Schaaf and her right-hand person, Karen Boyd. So, and Joe DeVries. Joe DeVries was he was the easiest to handle because he was the dumbest. He was the easiest.
We're talking about an administrator in City Hall.
Oh, he's the deputy assistant city administrator.
Yes, yeah, he just keeps on getting promotions after just doing so much
harm to the community
and questionable stuff. So this guy has been in charge of, at the same time, homeless interventions, police, all surveillance in Oakland, animal control, public works. He is in charge of too much. And
way too much harm.
He has done so much harm and so much mismanagement. And I'm like, are you just evil or incompetent? Like, honestly, it's one of the two. But yeah, he just keeps on getting promotions.
Yeah, he's gone as far as he can go, and he's now 20 years.
That's crazy.
He's got 20 years. He came in under Jerry Brown.
This was a guy who was actually part of Occupy Oakland too.
Yep.
He was out there. We've got pictures. We got pictures.
Wait. So he came from somewhere else?
Yeah.
And he worked his way up.
Yep.
In and up.
Yep.
He worked it in his way up in the county first. I think it was he Nate Miles'
Nate Miley's
office? Nate Miley's he was in Nate Miley's office.
Then he was
and then
on
he
the board of
into
trustee
Jerry Brown.
at Alameda Health Systems.
Yeah.
Because he was the person who nominated me to put me on the CAB board.
What's the CAB board? Sorry.
The CAB board is a co-applicant board. What that particular board, it's a HRSA required, it's a federal required board. and it's to help the low income and the homeless specifically. And the person that is in that role has to have firsthand experience and knowledge of homelessness. And I was the only person out of the 10 people on that committee that had experience that was at least 10 years fresher than the next person.
Man. And, you know, because of a lot of the harm that Joe did, didn't he get removed from that board?
He was removed from that board.
Because of all the harm he did to unhoused people. He was removed.
He was removed from that because I refused to go along. Because there was an issue at that time. There was, at Alameda Health Systems, there was a strike going on for the personnel. And also, at the same time, they were putting up the new building. And so, for 2 years, the Board of Trustees did not negotiate with the staff. And so that's where I put my foot down and said, that's not right. The building is not a priority. The staff and patient are the priority.
Yeah.
And so by me holding out, the next week, the entire Board of Trustees were terminated by the Alameda County Board of Supervisors. Everybody, including my friends, all of them, because I didn't stand with them. I said no. The building does not have priority. Everybody wanted their name on this plaque saying that they were responsible for this building, and I couldn't see that. And that was the only reason why they didn't, for 2 years, negotiate with the nurses, the doctors, the janitors, everybody.
Wow.
And everything was held in limbo.
Wow.
And because of that, we got rid of Joe.
Good work. Good work. You know, I want to say one of the things, I thank you for sharing your story. And I think it's so important because you've actually been unhoused and housed within for that first time, like 3 times now, right?
This is my 3rd time
right?
now.
And so why I appreciate your story for so many reasons. One, because it really challenges this idea of who's unhoused, right? Because there's a lot of us who are functional. Who people are like, you can't really be unhoused. There's so many people out there, and when the city will tell us you're not really unhoused. Why would I pretend, right? Yep. But I think it also shows like it's possible to like learn and teach and have a teachable moment. Like you really like went from one extreme to the other.
Yes.
And like I think a lot of folks who haven't experienced homeless, like when you were not unhoused, did you have biases or preconceived notions or even stereotypes around homeless people?
Absolutely. I was hard on the homeless people. In my neighborhood, you couldn't be homeless and walk in my neighborhood.
Wow.
I had security cameras facing every house in the neighborhood.
And why was that? What was your thing with homeless people before you became homeless?
Well, the only reason why I had a problem was there's this one group that came in just before garbage day, and they go through the trash, go take care of all the recyclables, which is no big deal, but they left a mess. And so I got tired of cleaning up their mess. And I went out a couple of times and asked them, please, could you just clean up, not so that I don't have to do this. And I said, because I hate to use my alternative, and you're really going to hate that, because my dogs are going to tear you up.
Wow.
Because I turned my 2 pit bulls loose on them.
That's crazy.
That's how bad I was.
That's crazy.
And I did that once, and I didn't have a problem with them ever again.
That's crazy. And so what a huge learning curve.
It was a huge learning moment when I lost everything.
Right.
When I lost everything, I just stood there in shock, looking at the TV and couldn't believe 47 years of my life just went poof.
And that can happen to any of us.
And that can happen
at
to
any
anybody.
moment, right?
We're all susceptible to that.
Right.
And no matter how much money you have, no matter how much property you have, it can be gone in an instant.
Yes.
And people were saying, well, why didn't you sell your boats? Why didn't you sell your property? What did you think I did? But then, here's the thing. Nobody has money to buy anything because everybody else is broke. So my $200,000 boat was only worth about $80,000. That's what I got for it, and I had to give it up.
Wow.
My nearly $500,000 boat, you know, we were able to sell that and recover a majority of that. But the other boat, it was just a giveaway, essentially, just $7,000 for a boat that was only 8 years old.
Wow.
And that one was a $25,000 boat.
Wow.
That was our ski boat.
That's wild.
And then our cabin, our South Lake Tahoe cabin, we did okay with that one because there's such a high demand for everything up there. But the home, the Oakland homes, ended up selling that, and there was a mortgage on that one. So her and I each ended up with about $100,000 in our pockets. But then my $100,000 disappeared because it was in the bank when everything went belly up.
Wow.
So I got
That's
nothing
wild.
out of that.
That's wild.
And all the cash that I had in my bank was the one local bank there in North Carolina. I had $6,000, and that was it.
That was it.
And then I just purchased the home, a $500,000 home up on High Rock Lake, but I got it for a bargain because it sat empty for 2 years because the real estate market was in the tank. And so a $500,000 home I got for $105,000. But guess what? I can't pay $105,000 because I got no money now.
Wow.
So I ended up losing that home.
Man.
And that's why I came back to the Bay Area. And when I got back to the Bay Area, I had a job for a short while, but then because there's a way to run an operation correctly and a way to run an operation the wrong way. That business wanted to run it the cheap way, which is the wrong way. And so I only lasted there 4 months, and then I was homeless. My dad took me in. He found out that I had nowhere to go, and shortly after he took me in, he fell ill and passed on a year later. And then my sister, who her and I never got along, she took the home and sold the home. Out of both my parents said, never sell the home. That home is for you and for any relatives that may need a home in the future. This home is paid for. My sister took that paid for home, sold it,
Wow.
and only got $135,000.
Wow.
So for $135,000, she made me homeless.
Wow.
She didn't give me a dime out of that.
Wow. That's crazy. Wow. Well, you are here and you are resilient and you are fighting for everyone now.
I'm fighting for everybody, our homeless community. We have solutions that I've put forward, but the county doesn't want these solutions, these long-term solutions, because they're only focused on 2-year plans. They don't want long-term settlements.
Permanent. They don't want
Long-term settlements, because I have that property already, and I gained that property back in May of 2022.
Tell us about this property and the solution.
And the property is not that far from here. It's over by the Oakland Coliseum. It's Caltrans property, 20 acres. It's right between Tech Truck Center and the 880 freeway. It's that whole patch of dirt. And that is part of my contract of N2320 executive order signed by Governor Gavin Newsom. I've already have a 50-year contract on that.
Wow.
So I've already locked down the property. We've already been in contact with the federal government to clear the path for construction, and they require a safety barrier and a sound wall of 20 feet in height. So we budgeted about $10 million just for that wall, and that makes the property available.
Wow.
And then now we have to fight with the county and the city to get building permits.
Wow.
And submit architectural drawings, but they don't want them.
So the federal government, the state government, just was like, yes, yes.
Yes, yes.
And now you're back here, and
Yeah.
they're like, no, no.
And county and city say, no, we don't want that.
Wow. And so
We're-
tell us what your vision is for that piece of land.
What we have envisioned for that land is a whole new community. It's a micro community, and we're using a new building concept called barndominiums. And the barndominiums are kind of like a condominium, but they're not quite the condominium, but you have multi units in under one roof. And the footprint is that of a standard home, typically 3,000 to 5,000 square feet. But then imagine having anywhere from 4 to 8 units. Each unit being, the smallest unit being 420 square feet, largest unit 680 square feet, which is sufficient for a family of 5 easily. Because I had a condo in the late 90s, early 2000s. I had a 900 square foot condo, and it was 3 of us. It was more than enough space, very comfortable. Cost was very reasonable, and the barndominiums, that's what's great. The barndominium, we're using a different model, no flammable material in the construction of the barndominium.
Nice.
And so if a fire were to break out into an individual unit, it is contained within that unit. There's vapor barriers between each unit so that smoke and carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide cannot transfer between units. They're all individually sealed. All the frames are steel. The insulation are rock wool. Rock wool does not burn because it's a mineral, so it's fireproof. And so this is how we get around and change a lot of the things that make homes so dangerous. The flammables, the frames, the wood, the plastics, the fiberglass. We're doing away with all that. We're replacing that with metal studs. And metal studs don't burn. The rock wool doesn't burn. Even the wiring is protected. The plumbing, we're using PEX rather than copper. Copper's so expensive. The PEX is used in housing all over the world, and it's cheap, it's quick to install. You can plumb an entire house in a matter of hours rather than days and weeks with copper. So we're saving labor. And then also with this particular project comes an old regulation that comes in to help people with the down payment, and it's the sweat equity down payment. And so you're going to be able to put in a certain amount of hours towards the construction of the interior of your unit, and then that serves as your down payment, your cash down payment to get you in that house.
Nice. And didn't you have an idea about around how people would actually pay for their rent? And there's like a whole system you had in mind.
Yeah, on the
and it was for home ownership too,
yeah,
right?
this is about home ownership.
Yep.
And that's one of the things about the welfare system. The welfare system, at a time, it still allows welfare payments to be processed towards a mortgage. And so this is how they're going to be able to own the unit that they live in, because if they're on welfare, that welfare payment goes to help pay that off. It also serves the welfare system because there's an end date. They have an end date where this person is now housed permanently. They own that unit. So they are permanently housed. They're never, supposedly, hopefully, never to be homeless again now that they're permanently housed. And that's just the beginning stepping stone for them, because they can move up to a better unit, a larger units, units in different places. Much like the other program that I had, which was part of the Oakland Middle Harbor. And that one has actually housing for zero income. If you have no income, there is housing in this cruise ship style of district. and it has housing, it has business, restaurants, entertainment. It's a boom for all of Oakland, and it doesn't cost Oakland anything because we're using tax increment financing, TIF financing. It's a whole different type of financing. It's kind of like what was used to put up Mount Davis at the Coliseum, and it puts a fund available so that all of these components can be put together, and then it's paid back through the taxes that are now raised in that new district, because the original tax base, what they normally collect annually, that's frozen. And so now with all these new added features, the tax base raises, and so that differential is what pays off that TIF.
Wow.
And that can last as long as 50 years. And so with that, a friend and I, we calculated Oakland would need about $4 billion to fix all of Oakland. That would also include the schools. That would fix the schools too. We're talking about fixing and repaving all of Oakland's roads, fixing every road, every mile, fixing the police department. Yeah, I have a plan to completely overhaul that, because this is ridiculous what they have. This is a joke.
For folks who don't know, they've got like 69% or 64% of the general, but of all the money that comes into Oakland, OPD gets 64 or 69%
of that.
of all the money that comes into Oakland. And they're crying that they want more.
And they want more because they use the police to as an excuse on the homeless for the sweeps, and we see that constantly.
And they use the police as bookends for gentrification. It's like they use the police to remove us from the neighborhoods, and then they use the police to keep us out of the neighborhoods.
Police. It's policing.
Yes.
They're doing their job.
Right? For who?
I mean, we don't know what their job is. That's why we're like tripping.
Yeah. Well, I've yelled at several of the cops, and they said, "Well, you try and tell me how to do your job." I said, "Yeah, because you need it.
Right.
Because you have no fucking idea what you're doing."
I do the same.
Just yesterday, we had police CSI unit right 100 feet away from me because of a gunfight, gang fight that happened at 6 a.m. yesterday morning. And I mean, there are bullet holes everywhere. And I'm armed myself. I keep my .45. A lot of people say, "Oh, you have a gun." Well, you'd be crazy not to have one out here.
That's the truth.
Especially in this neighborhood. You know, we're in the Death Triangle here in East Oakland. That's what our area is called, the Death Triangle, because more deaths occur
here
within a 1 mile radius of where I'm at than anywhere else in Oakland.
I'm remembering that back in the day, it used to be called the Killing Fields. Right?
Yep.
Still is. Still is.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
I never heard that.
Yeah.
I remember
Killing
that.
Fields.
The Killing Fields.
Yep.
Yep. Still,
wild.
and the police, you know, they're out there taking pictures and just mostly
Not
with their,
preventing crime.
yeah, mostly with their thumb up their ass, and
Yep.
and doing nothing. I mean, and I'm looking at 8 police officers standing around doing nothing, and one person taking pictures. Now, how is that helpful? You at the most need 3. The one to take the pictures and 2 to watch them. That's what E.B. Mudd did.
Yeah.
When the ditch digger, you got 1 ditch digger and 2 supervisors.
It was interesting talking about the police because I had to de-escalate a situation, I think like a month ago. And the officer that I approached to, like, what the hell, when he spoke, he had a thick German accent. And it shocked me because I can't think of a single time ever in my life that I ever heard a police officer with any accent.
Almost like a miserly.
Period.
Maybe Mexican.
No, I've never heard anybody with any accent except American. I've never heard anybody with any accent, and that threw me. That's just my experience. Maybe there's folks out there with accents, but it threw me off that the first time I hear a police officer with an accent, it's a German police officer. He threw me off. I'm like, where are you from? He's like, Germany. I'm like, whoa. And given the time we're in right now, right? It kind of ruffled my feathers a bit. So, needless to say, I was able to de-escalate the situation and get them to stop doing what they were doing. And that's really important, guys. When we see folks, especially those of us with skin privilege, with proximity to whiteness, right? Closer proximity to whiteness is really important. And any of us could do it. It doesn't really matter about skin privilege, but it do help to just stop what you're doing, pull out your camera, and you can stop a situation. You can de-escalate a situation. And that's crucial. That is so crucial. But yeah.
Yeah, when do we stop being the eyes and ears of each other? You
Right.
know? And I know sometimes it's dangerous. Like little old me, I'll get in between people too in the club.
Right.
Whatever. Like, no,
Right.
we're not doing that.
And it could be harmful.
Could be harmful.
Yes.
So
Yep.
definitely listen to your instincts, your
Yeah.
intuition, the spirit, the people around you. You know, if it's now, I recommend people get into some martial art.
Yep.
Get into some self-defense,
Yes.
some bodybuilding, some fitness, cardio, all of it, because you need the strength physically and mentally. Mentally is the discipline. Going
And the
back
endurance.
and the endurance, the core.
Yes.
Going back to the militancy.
Yeah.
See, I had to give it some breath.
That's where I have the advantage in my camp because I'm a triple master in martial arts.
Okay.
So Wing Chun,
Kick some
Muay
butt.
Thai,
Kick some butt.
and then Eskrima.
Hey,
There we
Eskrima.
go.
So
You know about Screamer, right?
Yep. For those who don't know, Eskrima it was called Eskrima. It's called Kali. Arnis, depending what part. It's a Philippine martial art of stick fighting and sword fighting and crazy things. So a lot of stuff, because we were and continue to be a colony of the Philippines. Now we're a neo-colony of the Philippines. They just removed their faces and put our faces in place. They took a lot from the Philippines and applied it here. So every police department in the U.S. is trained in Eskrima. That's how they use their batons. So it's good to know that because then you know how to block that shit.
That's true.
And use that shit.
And use it against them.
Yes, exactly. You're like, oh, you're going to do that? Let me go do this.
Yeah, let me show you how it's done.
Right? Yeah, that's dope.
And learn other cultures of martial arts. 'Cause
Yes.
like Eskrima there is makulele in Brazilian
yes.
African culture.
Yes,
so.
it is. Absolutely.
Because it's been interesting out of since 2014, 2015. 2015, I've had 48 street battles with martial arts. 48.
Wow.
Lost none. And
That's awesome.
42 went to the hospital.
Yeah.
And I got pictures.
Don't mess with Derek.
Wait,
That's
so
the
you-
message. Don't
so
mess
you-
with Derek.
So you gave him the hurting, and then you took a picture with him.
Yep. And took a picture of them bleeding.
Oh
Wow,
God,
you had to get
you
proof.
cold-blooded.
I used to tattoo them with their paint cans.
OMG.
Wow, you said you're never gonna do this again.
Because the kids that used to come and tag, and they say, "Oh, you can't touch me. I'm underage." Out cold they go. Your mommy's not here to help you.
Right.
Your daddy not here to help you.
Right.
And here's your spray can. And I just write a message on their chest.
You are crazy.
and then send them on their way when they wake up.
Ruthless.
If they don't come back.
True. That would be one tactic.
And then the other thing that really happens to a lot of homeless in my particular area, there was a lot of illegal dumping, and so some of the illegal dumpers would get extremely violent. They bring out a shotgun on you, or start shooting at you. They did at my camp a couple of times until I shot back. when I shot back, and I mean, they dropped their guns.
I bet.
Is I have back then my Glock. You know, I had 19 round clip and one in the pipes. You're not
They
going to
weren't
argue
ready
with
for
me.
that.
No,
Yeah.
because I put 5 right next to your head, and you drop everything. And
Don't mess with
and-
Derek.
And the one thing that I tell everybody about the illegal dumpers, if they come to attack you and you have your gun, don't shoot them. Shoot the vehicle. Shoot up the vehicle. They stop. They stop real quick, especially when you start shooting windows and putting holes in their car.
Right.
They stop.
And then they can't say nothing because what they're doing
Yeah.
is illegal.
Yeah, what they're doing
What are they
is
gonna do? Who they gonna complain to?
Yeah, and then
That's a good one.
And here's the best thing. I love shooting the U-Haul vans because they do not cooperate with law enforcement. They will not give out any information when you inquire. And so I don't mind shooting up their trucks. I put holes all in their trucks. Then that way, the person returning that truck has a problem
Yeah.
because they need a police report as to why all these bullet holes are in their truck.
Wow. Yeah.
Tactics.
So-
Back to the
Yes.
word
So-
militancy. Life goes show.
Yes.
Life goes show. Because
Yes.
even inside us, and I think maybe it's the word we're using. There's a type of what do you call it? Like counteraction or counteractive plan that comes about. Our pH balance, the T cells come out when you got a virus. And they fight. So it is natural. We're saying the same thing. There's just something that clicks where it's like, okay, how do I continue my well-being permanently? So now we're getting into the different types and strategies, the tools, the tips, the ways.
And there are solutions here, just that right now the city leaders, the county leaders aren't listening, and they don't want the long-term permanent settlements. Even though we have 2 that could easily be propped up inside of a year. And that would remove pretty close to 2,000 families from the street. Families, not individuals, families we're talking about.
So I'm looking at this. All this time we've had a so-called homeless issue, right? Why in the world, and dangers? Why in the world, and our schools failing us and stripping us from our creative arena, the arts and everything,
Critical thinking.
engineering, home ec,
All of it.
critical thinking. So why aren't we making a whole other, like you're saying, because I got the same idea too. We might need to talk. Government, hospital, or healing centers.
Because all of these solutions that I'm talking about, we can bring in trades, training the
Indeed.
trades.
Yeah.
It's for high school, for junior college, for college. These are skills that never leave you. And you can take them anywhere in the world and make money.
Now you're feeling empowered.
Yeah, now you're
Yes.
empowered. You're empowering people. You're not taking things away from them. You're empowering people for the future.
To be a member of society,
And to be self-sufficient.
self-sufficient, go anywhere around the globe. Now you're happier.
And a homeowner.
And a homeowner, right? And really a landowner,
Yes,
because
that
we need
part.
that
Yeah,
alluvial.
that's
That
the
part.
most important, land
part.
owning, land
Indeed.
ownership.
Yes.
Indeed.
Absolutely.
So that goes back to our mental state. Feeling a part of everything and feeling like you have a bid at the table and you can, you got something to work with. Like Monopoly, remember you get
Yeah, you have a seat at the table,
seat
and,
at the
and,
table.
and a voice.
and a voice.
That's the most important part. Having the seat is one,
It
but
is.
having the voice is the most important.
Yep. I have to be reminding folks, because more and more people are starting to speak up, who,
Indeed.
you know, and I have to remind folks that when you know, they falter or get scared, is like, they're not and getting harassed because they're speaking up, or getting targeted, or getting punished for speaking up. So speaking about like in the city interventions or any part of society that
Right.
you know we need critical change in, is that you know they're not attacking you or harassing you or targeting you because you're weak. They're doing that because your voice is so powerful. Like
Right.
when you speak up,
Right.
like that's power.
For sure.
Yeah, the truth is powerful.
Back to that word sound power.
Hey,
Yep. It's
Yep.
actual vibrations.
yes.
That's what actually moved the pyramids.
Mm.
Yep. Vibration, sound.
Yep.
Yes.
So that's why we go out and protest and we go out and beat our drums or sing whatever.
Chant.
I mean,
Yes.
but this is why they do Christmas carols. So it's in a good way too. It's not just when there's danger, like, listen. It's just to bring the peace,
Bring the vibration up.
bring the vibration
Yeah.
wherever it needs to be.
Yeah. Yep.
The
for real.
focus is the frequency.
They say speaking into people, like, you know, the words. There was a doctor, but I think his name was Dr. Suzuki from Japan, and he had done this experiment that I had my students do, where he took 2 glasses of water, 2 jars of water, and for like about a month period, one glass he would just speak loving kindness to, and like words of affirmation. And the other glass, he would just belittle and like cuss out and just be derogatory to. And after a month, the glass that he spoke positive affirmation to was crystal clear. And that there was nothing different in the conditions except what he spoke to them. And then the glass that had the cloudy water, the glass that he was speaking negatively to was cloudy. You know, and if we think about we're made out of 80% water, and the earth is covered with how much water, you know, of like, that goes back to word sound power. Like, if we can affect the water, those molecules within us, and the water surrounds us, the water in the air, there's always water in the air. There is always water everywhere. And I had my youth do it, and the same thing happens, where they were both kept in the kitchen, and one was kept on this side of the table, and one was set on this side of the table, and I had the whole group of kids speak wonderful to one glass, and then just go off on the other glass, and yeah, the water transformed based on how we treated it. So yeah, that word sound power is real, and like speaking those affirmations is real. Yep. Yep.
Indeed.
So, is there anything you'd like to leave us with before we wrap it up with our conversation?
Well, I'd just like, in closing, say that there are solutions.
Yes.
We have housing solutions. We just got to get the right people in the right seat to move the projects forward.
Yes.
Because there are solutions.
Yeah, there
And
are.
We have affordable housing solutions. We have zero income housing solutions that are
Yes.
available. There's a way to increase business here in Oakland. Just that we have elected the stupid.
And the unwilling. There's like a lack of political will, because we also do have legislation that's been passed over the past 10 years, 6 years, 7 years, that actually would help alleviate the homeless crisis and the housing affordability lack thereof. They just refuse to implement it. And there's no accountability. And that's the thing, is that the city council passes these laws, passes these legislations, passes these policies, and the mayor and the administration are supposed to implement them through the different departments, and it gets passed and then just sits there because the administration just won't. And they're not elected.
Right.
They're appointed. So there's no, like, their job security is
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
they don't
there's-
have to worry about the next election
Yeah, no accountability whatsoever.
at all, or transparency,
Nope.
and no answers. So I actually had a meeting with the head administrator in charge of homelessness today, Harold Duffy, and we were able to get a meeting with him because of these testimonies I've been collecting. That Quid came out for a day and helped us collect them too. the testimonies of folks when they've dealt with evictions or when they've been in these city interventions. And for the past, I guess, month and a half, we go to city council or the city council committees every Tuesday, and we read these testimonies. And I've also been able to bring in folks from the encampments or from the interventions to speak for themselves as well. And it just started, they couldn't deny it. They have their manicured thing and their PR of this is what we do, and we follow this policy, and we follow this law settlement, and we could deal with people with compassion and dignity. And no, you don't. At least people are saying you don't, and we're witnessing it's not happening. So because of that, I got a meeting with Mr. Duffy, which is very impossible to do, as you know, and it went extremely well. He was real about certain things, but he committed to something. And because he was very real about his stance about other things, there was a legislation that we drafted through HOG, Homeless Advocacy Working Group, that both me and Derek are part of. It's a coalition of folks, of unhoused folks, of advocates, of churches, of small businesses, of housed residents, of tenants advocates who have come together. It was birthed after the city bulldozed our first village on Marcus Garvey Park. And I think I told this story where half of us stayed back at the park to make sure that everyone who was losing everything was accounted for and properly transitioned somewhere safe. And the other half of the group marched to City Hall, and it picked up momentum. More people joined the march, and they took over City Hall and demanded the person we talked about earlier, Joe DeVries, who at that time had Harold Duffy's position, the guy I talked to today. And that's where HOG got born.
Right.
And but we were able to draft this policy and get Rebecca Kaplan, I believe, to present it to council and champion it. And what the policy states is, in all 7 districts of Oakland, there should be a minimum of 1 parcel of city-owned land that is opened up for sanctuary for people to be when there's nowhere else to go. And they've never, and it's not like, so if people don't want folks on the streets, then open up some of this public land and let people go there. And that helps homeless advocates and providers and service providers to go like, we're going to that spot of land because that's where everyone's going. And he committed to make that happen after it got passed in 2017, and nothing happened today. So we're going to hold Mr. Duffy to that especially with all these evictions happening and people not having somewhere to go, that's where they go, on these lands that the city already approved.
And these are areas that are important for people to gain stability. And then that's how, through the stability, that's how they get housing offers, is without those caseworkers being able to find them. And that's the biggest problem that Oakland and any homeless situation has, is that the sweeps distribute them, redistribute them, and the caseworkers lose track of these people. And then when a unit comes available, they cannot find this person. They desperately try for as long as they possibly can, and if they can't find them, that person has just lost their opportunity.
Yep, for real.
And that's so common these days.
You know, and that's happened with us and we don't do housing, or like we don't do permanent housing. We do housing vouchers for specific populations, but just, you know, as us we build relationships with folks, and we do check-ins, and like, you know, we have relationships with folks. You know what I'm saying? That's our biggest thing, is we have relationships. And so when people get pushed out and we can't find them, there are people I'm still looking for that lost their phones or just disappeared after the eviction that we were at. That's where the German cop was at that eviction. I'm still looking for like 3 people who were like very like high-risk vulnerability folks, and I can't find them. Right? And it's like, what the heck?
I'm looking for Wise Proof. Anybody see where he's at?
He was at Wood Street.
He was?
He was at Wood Street.
That was then.
And then he got displaced. Yeah. Wise Proof, y'all. For those of you in the hip-hop game, you know, Mr. Lyricist Abundance.
High-level lyricist.
Yeah. Amazing spirit.
Indeed. And artist in as well.
Yes.
Does hair and draw and sculpt and things. So.
Yeah. Good people.
There's a lot of geniuses out there, masters,
that,
you know, needed our support. to just bring them back to this realm, because a lot of folks be going into other dimensions, and it's hard to keep the feet grounded.
Keep them back.
Yeah.
Yep. For real. For real.
You know. So yeah, thank you for coming, brother. Thank you for sharing as
having me.
well. You know, thank you for sticking in there and showing us how to keep our light strong. You know, on the front line.
Yeah,
Straight
and
up.
also on my YouTube channel right now, I'm showing folks how much easier it is to live homeless and off-grid by having a solar generator, not a gas generator anymore. Forget that. It's noisy, stinky,
Right.
costs too much money.
Yep.
Solar generators, once you get the solar panels up, at my place right now, I have a 400-watt system. I can run all night my electric blanket with this cold night. I run an electric blanket
Oh, that's beautiful.
off my solar generator.
Wow.
And then the next morning, when the sun comes up, it just charges my solar generator. And so I'm set. And then I can watch my TV. I have a Wi-Fi box, Verizon Wi-Fi, so for my community, so that all 8 of us can be on the
Online.
internet.
That's what's up.
And we share this.
Man,
You know,
you can have a
I
little-
don't ask for any fee or anything for I just hooked everybody up, saying, you do what you need to do.
Nice, man.
And not everybody needs the access, because they don't either have a phone or they don't have equipment. But those that do appreciate that,
For sure.
because where else are you going to get it? And if you got one of those Obama phones, just punch in the code and then you have your internet.
Right.
And you don't need to pay $40, $50, $100 for service,
Right.
because that's the part that hurts.
That is. And sometimes they don't let you in the library.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And some places aren't near libraries.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Some people are injured and can't walk
Yeah.
to a library or
Man.
other places.
Or don't want to leave their spot because they're scared it's
Somebody
going to get
gone.
ransacked.
Yeah, because
That's
a big
that's a
one.
huge
That's a
one. That's a
huge
big one.
one.
People don't
Man.
people stay in their spots
Yeah.
because they're scared of
that's
getting
now,
ransacked.
so many people. I say, well, why don't people go out and do things and go get a job?
Right.
Because if you come back, you won't have anything
have
left.
anything you
'Cause
built.
Whatever you had will be stolen,
yeah.
unless you have some way to either lock it or have an animal that's going to eat somebody.
You're
Right.
right.
And I have an animal that will eat somebody.
Okay. For real.
Or some booby traps.
A 150-pound American bulldog, and she don't play. She already got 2 people this week.
See? Wow.
Yeah.
That's necessary, because it's
Yeah.
just like living in the so-called wilderness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But that's our
you
home.
gotta protect your territory.
Different kind of predators.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so you just gotta have
I'll
a big,
just say it.
a big enough predator.
I won't say it this time. Starts with an M.
Militant.
The militant C, which we have to see when it's time to be militant. I was just thinking about it, like, okay. It was all going in my head. So, what is this militancy? It's like, even when we're in the jungle, we can't just be on a tree. It might be hot. It might feel good. You want to be high with the high fruit. But then there's a snake. There's a leopard or something that will climb there and eat you.
Right. For real.
Like you said, it will straight up eat you.
Yes.
So our consciousness, like, okay, I need to make some suitable shelter, not just for them over there too. Militancy.
Your nose twitch.
That's my emphasis.
I saw. You spoke with your whole body.
The frequency of militancy. So with that, I have instead of having a running, what do they call that? Those letters, chain letter.
Chain letters.
It's just sort of like that, but this is on a whole nother level.
Okay.
It's called You Feel Me Fridays.
Okay.
Feel me? You feel me? You feel me? Because
Feel me though?
you really though, because this has been going way too long, and we ain't boycotted nothing. My friend, shout out to Corey, who's also going through the same thing with us,
Yes. Yeah.
but doing a lot,
Yes.
same as you.
Yep.
And he calls it colluding. We've been colluding. The people are colluding, acting like they're not a part of it,
Of the issue.
but you still going to the same stores. You're still using the same credit cards at the same places. You're still eating the same things. You're still watching the same stuff. You're still not getting involved in these type of organizations and movements, but you're going to complain about the situation, you know? And so on Friday, it's just actually to counteract the whole DEI madness and them taking it out and, you know, what's happening right now.
Right.
What are you
Right.
talking about?
Right.
And all the other stuff they're doing. So I'll just read it. It says, the first step, let's follow Al Sharpton. So go on to Al Sharpton's page and like and follow or do what you need to do there. Check in. Here's the DEI boycott plan that has been sent out to share share with all of our contacts. 24 hours of blackout has been scheduled for the first of multiple countermeasures to attack on counter the attack on DEI. Our first official act as our first initial, it's called Turn It Off. For one day, we show them who really holds the power. We don't make any purchases as best you can. We don't shop online. That should be easy. No Amazon, no Walmart, no Best Buy. None of those big corporations. No Mickey D's. None of the fast food. I'll just add that. No Target. And then it says, don't spend money on fast food, gas, major retailers. Okay, it's the same thing. Credit card, debit card, non-essential spending. What we will do if necessary, only buy essentials absolutely if necessary, such as certain food, medicine, emergency supplies. Spend on small local businesses. And then talk about it, post about it, document in your social medias and all that goodness. Why does this matter? Corporations and banks only care about their bottom line. If we disrupt the economy for just one day, it sends a powerful message. If they don't listen, we make the next blackout longer. This is our first action. Our numbers are powerful. We got to remember that. This is how we make history. So that's again on the 28th for 24 hours. You Feel Me Fridays, economic blackout begins. We must use the power we do have and send an economic message with our numbers, as Dr. King did in the 60s. Now share this message to our first of multiple actions, and stay tuned for the future actions. Salute.
Awesome. So it's this Friday.
It's this Friday.
This Friday, y'all.
And what I wanted to do, I don't know if, I'm going to just go ahead and say it. I would love to have a parade, a Black History Month parade. It's going to happen next year, but I'm going to just, if you want to be involved, let's meet at the amphitheater at 1 o'clock. Amphitheater, 1 o'clock.
Lake Merritt Amphitheater?
Yep. On the 28th.
All right.
It's the last day of Black History Month.
Awesome.
Right on.
Awesome.
Amphitheater, 1 o'clock. See you there.
Boom.
Boom.
Heard it here. Word Sound Power.
Let's go. Let's go. Let it ring out.
Awesome. That's what's up. You want to get into a little something with all right, so we as we had said in another previous episode, both Quick and I are artists, and he had the great idea of we should incorporate our art in this podcast. So when we can and when we do, we will. So I had a piece I was going to read, but because it's the end of Black History Month, I want to share a piece I wrote in celebration of Black History Month instead. So I'm going to pull that one out. But
excellent.
You got drums today? What you got going on today?
I'll probably just do like a beatbox flute type thing.
Okay.
Yes, indeed. Big up to Igor Beats, Bay Life Radio in the house. Let's get it, Oakland.
Let's get it. Let's go.
Yeah.
And I'll do a little intro to explain behind. So this piece, I was invited to create something for the St. Mary's Center, which is a center that serves senior citizens and preschool students, two extremes, but primarily senior citizens. And they have a huge homeless program department. And the director of that department had invited the Cardboard and Concrete Collective, which is the homeless, formerly homeless, housing insecure artist collective we have at the Village, to perform. And so this was the piece. Everyone in the collective did different things. Some of us did some collaborative things. Actually, everything ended up being collaborative, but each of us has a specific medium that we picked. And I'm a poet. And so this was what my offering was for.
Was that your native tongue right there?
That was me talking
sounded
like I was in the Philippines. I am a poet.
Like, there she is. Okay.
And I won't read it in this voice, but
we might need to go there one day.
Maybe one day.
Yeah.
Me and one of my homegirls, we have this thing where we just randomly, like with no spontaneity, I start talking like this, and she starts talking like she's from Ghana, and we just walk around in public in those voices and continue. When strangers start talking to us, we will just continue with them, and it's hilarious. It's fun. It's hella fun.
I love it. That's another podcast.
We can do it
do
in accents.
I got some accents for you.
Oh yes.
I'm gonna save them. I'm gonna save them.
I love it. So that's what this piece was.
Excellent.
Yeah. Alrighty. Oh, and I was gonna say too, when I read it that wasn't the only place that I read it at, but I've shared it in other spaces and places. When I've shared this in spaces, black spaces, it's received, it's appreciated, it's accepted. It's about the African roots in Asia.
Okay.
And when I read it in Asian places, many times that anti-blackness comes out, and people really want to like have a debate about this. And my point with this is like all of us around the world have accepted white history to be part of our history. Why can't we accept black history also to equally be part of our history? So that's what that's
Very
about.
good question. And I just want to speak very briefly on that. I'm glad you're here. What's your nationality?
Chinese.
Chinese,
I'm
great.
Chinese.
Happy New Year. I just did the Lunar New Year parade as well. So when you were talking about owning some land there, I'm working with a group called We Are One, and it's a combination of ethnicities right now. It's just African and Chinese and Japanese and Irish. And I really want to open up that table of conversation, of healing, and really bringing the awareness of our connection and the understanding of that we are one. You know what I mean? Like from the beginning. And so can you speak a little bit about our collaboration in San Francisco maybe, or wherever?
San Francisco, I don't know San Francisco as much because I stopped going there in 1977.
Gotcha.
For reasons of the time. I was involved in things that were pretty violent at that time. In fact, we were part of national news, the Chinatown massacre. So I was kind of on the sidelines on that, but that's why I stayed out of San Francisco. Even though my family has a lot of ties to San Francisco Chinatown, we still own a hotel there.
Okay.
in the San Francisco Chinatown. But growing up here in Oakland, I literally watched white flight here in Oakland. Is when my parents bought their home in the Oakland Hills, all of my neighbors were white. Within 2 years, all my neighbors were now black. But it was interesting watching the white flight because the white neighbors, even though I was very small, I could understand the racism. And because the white neighbor came over to my dad and said, "I just sold my home to a black family." It's like, so,
Okay.
Awesome.
That's
That's great.
Congratulations.
Right?
yeah, but he said it in a way where you knew what he was saying.
Yeah, right.
Better be careful because we have black family. I just sold it to a black family. So the insinuation,
Right.
That comes with it, and I watched literally house by house by house within 2 years. Everybody who even my friends, they moved away. They moved to other side of the hill, or they moved to Marin. Because I talked to some of them still. I was 6, 7 years old and one of my good friends, he lives in Marin, but he went to the same elementary school I did up until 6th grade. And his dad was a teacher. And what was interesting, he said, "Yeah, you would have, if you went to Frick, my dad would have taught you math, because my dad was the math teacher there." And so but then I didn't get him because they moved to Marin.
Understood.
But then the message that they would leave, all the white neighbors, that the way that they said it was very
Loaded.
yeah.
Well, we know that. We know
it was hurtful.
Of course, we know all of those type of stories, but I want to know do you know any good stories, positive stories between Black and Asian?
Oh yeah,
That's what I really want. Because in Black History Month, because then we just had the whole Asian hate thing, and so I just want to.
So one of when I had my command right here, I brought it. Well, I was issued a new person, and he was a sergeant from the Army. I mean, nice guy and everything, big guy, very intimidating looking, and when I first had him under my command, I said, well, I don't know if he's going to work out. He's kind of a hothead, and actually we ended up becoming best friends, and up until his passing a number of years ago, and he was my staff sergeant under my command. But I got to know his family. His family, his kids all called me uncle, because I was over there all the time. We ate together. We go hang out. We watch football games. We go to Raider games together. And so that's one black family that considered me family. Just their kids are like, hey, uncle, can we do this? Can we do that? We go fishing. We take them out on my boat. We go fishing. We go hiking. We go bike riding. We do all sorts of things together. And the skin color didn't matter to me. It was the company. So I had myself, I'm Chinese, my stepson was Caucasian, my wife was Caucasian, but we all got along just fine. We didn't have any issues ever. The only issues that ever came up was money for a lot of people. But otherwise, we didn't have any color barrier. We didn't have any racism. It was always somebody else, and it was funny that it wasn't people of color introducing that tidbit of racism,
right?
Because it always came in off the side somewhere.
Boom. Interesting. Thank you for sharing. I just wanted to touch on that, and we can possibly get back to it another time because it's a really heavy issue. The culture wars and ethnic wars.
I've got a I have more black friends than I have Asian friends because of the community that I live in, and these are people I grew up with.
Right.
Everybody.
Right.
And if I didn't grow up with you, yeah, I grew up alongside you in the neighborhood somewhere. We just didn't meet yet.
That's right.
And we all in my homeless community, we all get along great. We don't, talk bad about anything. We don't talk bad to each other. We support each other. If somebody's hungry, hey, let me see what I got. Help you out. Water. You got electricity. Because my solar generator, I try and charge phones and everything for folks. And then I have a gas generator as a backup, so in case somebody needs big power for something, I can power them up.
For sure.
For a short bit.
Nice one, nice one.
And so we help each other.
Exactly.
We actually could create a real community. Like they say, you can't choose your friend or your family, but you can choose your friends. And so these friends become family. And with my previous community, the 32 people that I helped get into housing, we still talk today. They occasionally send me emails or call me up. And say, hey man, I really appreciate you helping me back then, and I'm doing great now. And it's always nice to hear the folks that you helped out.
For sure.
And that they really appreciated the help, and that you helped guide them through a very difficult period. And that was the whole premise of my original sanctuary site, was to help create the stability, and then the stability helps create the foundation for people to move forward.
Wonderful. Wow. Thank you, brother. And so this is a Chinese flute, bamboo, so on that note, I'm about to play.
Okay. Right.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, cool.
Yep. Hey, I remember you. Yes, I remember you. Remember when the Bantu and the Twi left southern Africa 40,000 years ago and landed in a cluster of islands the Chinese called Ma'ai, the Pacific Islanders called the Maniolas, the Boreños called Barusai, and the East Indians called Maharlaquita. You established tribes across the islands. The Spanish later called it the Philippines. I remember when you would eat mangoes on the pink beaches of Catubig, or how you built the 8th wonders of the world in the mountains of Ifugao, or how you would dance and sing and make art in the jungles of Mindanao. You formed into dozens of distinct tribes like the Aita, Acta, Mamawan, Igoro. The Spanish called you Negritos. The Americans called you the Blacks of Asia. I remember you. Remember when we met under the Bodhi tree when Siddhartha gained enlightenment, glorious with his Bantu knotted crown and stretched earlobes? 5 centuries before Jesus Christ was born, Black Buddha was teaching and preaching about love, fraternity, equality, liberty, and the correct way to live. I remember when you returned as Jesus to continue your teachings. So powerful were your words that Europeans changed both your images to remove any presence of Africa. But I remember. Remember when you crossed the Fertile Crescent and you made your way to Japan and China? And when the Black King Tang created the Shang dynasty, China's first dynasty, and the rest of Asia called the dynasty Naki, meaning the black skin. Remember how the Shang created the elaborate tombs in China and built the Great Wall of China? More black dynasties followed. The Tehu, the Manchu, Shao, and Xia. They try to make us forget, but I remember. Do you remember? Remember when the African Lin Min created Chinese calligraphy and the Chinese cultural hero Yao? Well, he was an African too, and he created the calendar system for farming, and the first Chinese emperor, Fu, he was an African too. His family and Wu established government, the system of prophesizing that we now call the I Ching, and those earth mound periods that nobody wants to talk about. Remember when you traveled from sub-Sahara Africa 22,000 years ago and became the Ainu people of Japan? Remember when you traveled again in the 1500s as seamen, as servants, and yes, as slaves into Japan? And one of your children became the greatest samurai warriors known as Yasuke. And another one of your children, Sakanoi no Tamaromaro, became Japan's first shogun warrior. Remember when he was hailed as the most powerful black general of Japan, and after him a legacy of the black shogun emerged. And remember that ancient Japanese proverb, for a samurai or a shogun to be brave, he must have a bit of African blood. Remember when you reached Cambodia and you were called the Khmers? You brought agriculture, engineering, arts, business, warriorship, irrigation, hydraulics, and man-made lakes to the land. And the largest and most powerful ancient empire of Cambodia were the black-skinned and frizzy-haired Angkor Empire. I remember. Remember 2 millennium ago when you created the nation of Champa, now known as Vietnam. The Chinese called you Lin Yi, which means the land of black men. You created a beauty aesthetic that elevated blackness as the most beautiful complexion in the world. And all the other kingdoms and empires of the region shared your love of blackness. Remember when the Europeans got to America and you were already here? You came more than 100,000 years before them from North and West Africa, trading and doing business with the indigenous of these lands. And after you settled in this hemisphere, you called yourselves the Olmecs in Mexico, the Darinite in Panama, the Choco in Colombia, the Garifuna or Califunami of the Caribbean. In North America, you called yourselves Nagaranset, Apache, Creek, Cherokee, Choctaw, Estelesti, Yamasee. You brought your art, your language, your religion, your pyramids, your astrology, your food, your agriculture to these lands. I remember the white supremacy wants all of us to forget. The fear, the hate, the jealousy of all things black has consumed this world, has erased black history, has made Buddha and Jesus white, has made us believe Europeans discovered the Americas, discovered the world, has taught us that science, language, arts, government, religion came from Europe. I remember while Europe was suffering through the Dark Ages, the rest of the world was civilized and thriving in blackness. Black is beautiful. Black is bountiful. Black is world history. Black is all our histories. Black is humanity. Black is science and art and civilization. Black is everything. Remember?
Remember that.
Remember.
For real though. We gotta remember. How do we remember? We have to represent.
Represent.
See, we say represent. We represent all the time, but I don't think we represent.
Represent.
There's a little difference there.
Yes. Reintroducing.
You gotta reintroduce it. You gotta
The world as we know it.
Re-implement.
Yes.
You know, we know a lot of the things that we need, but how much do we visit
Yeah.
and make sure that we in right standings with it?
Yeah. That part.
That part, because we always say, you know, black is beautiful and black this, black that, but I don't see many of us on the front line. I don't see many of us coming out here cleaning up. I see a lot of talk though.
I see a lot of complaining, and that goes across the board.
It does.
It's
does.
easy to complain.
It's easy to complain,
It's
and I
so
hear
easy.
you. I feel you too. But
Yep.
what's really gonna bring it home?
Right.
Show up.
Hello.
Yo, I was on the. This is my last little thing, 'cause I know we gotta go. I was on the highway. This was like passing like Estudio or something on the way this direction towards downtown, and I see the CRC garbage truck, the big one, on the highway. It was a very refreshing thing to see. The big black, mama, you know what I'm saying, that's been doing all this great work around the Bay. So shout out to CRC for going around. Come on, can we get that clap? Can we get that clap? For going around and cleaning up these encampments or the campsites. We said the curbside communities.
Curbside communities.
Because you gotta join in, and shout out to those that are joining in to help CRC clean up, because all hands on deck, because there's people that's on the above waters that's doing the dumping.
Correct.
Okay, so I gotta
Correct.
reiterate that.
Yes.
How do we represent the essence of what being black means? Because if you think about it, Africa's been given since the beginning. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Really just showing the unity. Like here,
Yeah.
what he saying? Coming to America. You see, coming to America. Let them wear our princely robes. You know what I'm saying? And Seaman was like, oh no, we need that back. We have such a giving spirit, and want to unite with everybody. Let us represent that vibe with our words, with our thoughts, our actions, our deeds, our sacrifices. I'm speaking to myself too. There's words, there's vibes that I have to regulate and apologize. Those that know me, I got an edge. I'm going to let you know if I'm feeling something off. However, I apologize if I made you feel a type of way, and I didn't mean to jolt negative vibes. However, I do want to express so that you know that I mean it's dear to me what I'm speaking about. And I'm learning how to articulate through my heart foundation, which is the affirmations as we were speaking earlier. So that's where it comes in again, the militancy. Because we really got to fight against those negative thoughts and those feelings where we're like, I got to let a person know. Well, just think about the repercussions that's going to result in if we don't represent what is resonating in our hearts.
That's real.
And that's real. I'm trying to see how many words can we use with to remind us. Because the right?
Yes.
The revitalize, restore. See, rest is short for restore. So we got to remember to rest, and there's no rhythm without the rest. Because without the breath, let's take a deep breath right now. I think it was deep breath through the nose, in through the nose, slowly out through the mouth. Thank you. And this is medicine for the brain.
Yes.
So that we can reset the brain. Every time we take a deep breath, we actually reset our spiritual palette.
All right.
That's why we're supposed to take, count to 10 when we're angry. Or take a deep breath. Or drink some water. It's to really bring oxygen to our brains.
Yeah. Or when dealing with anxiety.
Or being
overwhelmed. Dealing with fear. Just
fear.
that breath.
That breath.
Yeah. Yeah, for real. For real. That's what's up.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're at about time. Wanted to actually put a pitch out there for folks. You do have an opportunity to give back. We've got folks who have donated to make this possible and provide compensation to Bay Life Radio. But if you want to support the efforts that we do, and you like what you hear on this show, you can send some money. we will take some money to, you can look us up at PayPal, thevillageoakland@gmail.com is what you can look up at and PayPal and drop something. And if you want it specifically to go to this program, make a note and say that you want this, your donation to be going towards this program.
Which is called
Word on the Curb.
Word on the Curb.
So yeah, please support our efforts. We do this with love. But
and this
yes.
is representing. If you
Hello.
want to represent or represent, this is how you do it. You can do it with checking in, tapping in, sending it out to your community, and also, of course, donation.
yes, absolutely.
The donation. We changing it.
I love it. Do Nation. Do it. Do it.
Yes,
And then also, if you want to get down, physically, we're always taking volunteers to come out in the streets with us for Feed the People. And from there, if you want to get deeper into this organization, that is your opportunity. But we just ask that you come out. We got a little training, a 1.5 hour training to get you ready to hit the streets with us and know what to expect and whatnot. And hit me up, 510-355-7010 if you want to get down as a volunteer with Feed the People. And shout out to East Oakland Collective. They just did, I think, their 32nd, I think, Feed the Hood.
Feed the Hood.
Feed the Hood, where I think they 1,500 hot meals went out to unhoused folks who are in need along this MacArthur corridor right here. And they also filled all the town kitchen fridges. If you guys don't know what the town kitchen fridge is, it was started during COVID. There are refrigerators throughout Oakland that have free food and produce for people who are in need. You just got to open that fridge, and there it is. And if you've got extra or you're feeling a little love, you can drop some food at the fridges.
Boom.
Yep. And also, with all of these evictions happening, specifically with people living in their vehicles, we need help with people who have trucks that can help tow some of these vehicles so they don't lose the little shelter that they've made for themselves. So if you can help with tows, the evictions happen every day. And just plug in 510-355-7010 if you would like to help us protect people's RVs and get them out of the way of an eviction before the eviction comes. You really could be saving a life rather than have someone lose their vehicle, lose their home on wheels, and all their property and being left on the side of the street. We're going to send some of these folks over to Derek over on that side of the, they can relocate with him and begin establishing their community with him. And like I said, we're trying to see if and hold Mr. Harold Duffy, who is the administrator in Oakland in charge and overseeing all these homeless interventions and practices, to open up some public land for a sanctuary for unhoused people so we can get them off the streets but not have them lose everything in the process. And with that being said, I got some shameless promotion. So as been mentioned in past episodes, I am also, one of the hats I wear here in Oakland is the Lumpia Lady. I've had a 32-old-year business here in Oakland. My mom sold many things, many stuffs. But she also, one of the many things that she sold was frozen lumpia out of our apartment. And when she passed away, I continued doing that, and I just kept on growing it out. My daughter's growing it out. It's literally a mom and daughter, 3-generation-year-old business. And we've got some events coming up that I would love to invite you guys for. We got the flyers up. Let's do the first one, the first Fridays. So not this Friday, next Friday, March 7th, I believe. We will be having every first Friday the Lumpia Ladies and Pop, Walk, and Drop your favorite popcorn right here from homie who runs it from the 80s out here in East Oakland. And we put together a First Friday kickback. Come on through. There's no cover. And it's really geared towards folks who just want to chill after First Fridays and artisans. If you are an artist and you have a track and you want to get it played in our mix, in our music mix, come through and we will play your track. If you've got instrumental, we'll let you even sing or rap your track right there. It's a real it's a kickback, but we also want to uplift some of our artists here. I'm going to have a full me and Pop Walk, the Lumpia Ladies and Pop Walk and Drop, we're collaborating to make a special menu that's going to be combining our popcorn and our lumpia for little beer bites and drink bites, bar bites. But we will also be having the Lumpia Lady will also be having dinner plates as well. And come through. It's free all night. It's a cool vibe. We be chilling in there, and it's good stuff. And then let's get to a boozy brunch. Every third Saturday of the month, we will be having a boozy brunch also at the Space Lounge. All these events that I'm talking about, they're all going to be at the Space Lounge. And we'll be doing a pop-up brunch. Brunch is my favorite meal of the day. You know what I'm saying? Waking up at 11 is awesome when I can, and then eating brunch. And with this, I'll be showcasing the fact that I cook. Like, people know me for lumpia, Filipino food, but I cook. And so at Boozy Brunch, you're going to have a wide variety of brunch foods that are not necessarily Filipino. But come through, we're going to have some jazz and chill vibes and outdoor sidewalk seating as well as indoor seating. It's going to be good. It's only for 4 hours. So you got a 4-hour window to come on a third Saturday and have brunch with us. And then the last event we'll be doing at Space Lounge this March is Get Lucky. It's on St. Patrick's Day. I think that's March 17th. Do you have the flyer for that, Igor? And this is also no cover. And why are you going to get lucky? Because we're having a free raffle that night. We're going to have Space Lounge is going to be doing $10 beer and whiskey shots all night, a combo. For $10, you get a beer and a whiskey for those who drink. And it's St. Patrick's Day. It's a drinking day. And but everyone who comes in, you get a free raffle ticket. And we're going to have prizes raffled off from local businesses, local artists, whatnot. And we'll be doing, the raffle will be selected at 8 p.m. and then at midnight. But you have to be there to get your prize. So come through. This is another one that's being co-hosted with the Lumpia Ladies and Pop Walk and Drop. But we hope to see you there. And Aikwe, what you got coming up that people may wanna come and check you out with at?
Shoot, you hit me with a man.
Sorry.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. That's not fair.
I'm sorry.
That's not fair.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Pick one thing out of your millions of things.
Nah.
No?
Nope.
Okay.
Because I'm going to be sitting here like, which one? Like,
well, next week. Next week.
I mean, give me a heads up.
Okay.
Of course.
All right. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's our show for today.
I'm thinking about what I got to do right now and go to this Zoom for insurance, life insurance, IUL. That's what I'm thinking about.
Okay.
At 7.
All right.
So without further ado, good to see y'all.
Yep. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you guys next week.
One love.